We are, as many people say, in an unprecedented time right now. Many people have said that debate was unprecedented. You disagree, but do you think the keys stand up to this time now, knowing that we have all of these factors in there?
Excellent question. And I'll answer it in a few ways. One, every 4 years, people say to me, you have to change your keys. We have an African American running, never had that. We have a woman running, never had that. We have social media. We have the unique situations of 2024. And my answer is twofold. One, you can't change a model on the fly. That's a recipe for error. Two, the keys are very robust. Retrospectively, they go all the way back to 1860. When women didn't vote, blacks were enslaved, or an agricultural economy. There were no polls, no automobiles, no jet planes, fundamentally different demography, society, economy, politics. Finally, I'm not so arrogant as to claim that, nothing outside the keys can be so unprecedented to shake things up outside the context of the keys. Absolutely. I'm not psychic Gene Dixon with a crystal ball. I'm not Speaker Mike Johnson who claims the Almighty speaks to him. My system is based on history. And we do have some very extraordinary situations. We have one candidate on the one hand about whom there are legitimate questions about his capabilities, and we have a convicted felon who has directly threatened to destroy American democracy. He said, I'll be a dictator only on day one. Well, every dictator in the history of the world who's been a dictator on day one has been a dictator forever. So we do have some very extraordinary situations outside the context of the keys. I don't change my keys. I can't do that, but I do recognize that I'm not so arrogant as to claim nothing else could affect an election.
What keys do you think are still up in the air? As President Biden has said again in a letter to Congress, he's not leaving the race. He said it again on Morning Joe today. So as of now, it does look like it's going to be President Biden versus former President Trump. What keys are up in the air today?
Yeah, great question. Remember, the keys are always measured against the White House party. The opposition doesn't win or lose keys. And if 6 or more go against the White House party, they're predicted losers. Right now, Biden is definitively down 2 keys. Key 1, the mandate based on losses in the US House in 2022, and key 12, incumbent charisma. He's no FDR or Teddy Roosevelt. And one of the 4 shaky keys that your audience should follow: third party. And my basic rule of thumb is the only point in which I have to use the polls, because I don't know what the final result's going to be, obviously. But I don't just take the polls at face value. We have the Lichtman wasted vote syndrome. I love you, RFK Jr., but you can't win, so I won't vote for you. So I have the rule of halves. He's got to poll at 5% or more, which means in the pre-election polls, he's got to stabilize at 10% or more. Social unrest, will there be a new explosion comparable to what we saw in the 60s or during the Black Lives Matter movement? And finally, foreign/military failure and success, which are going to turn on what happens in the wars in the Middle East and in Ukraine. As I said, at least in the short term, the thing to look for that could change the keys and change the narrative and shift the polls again would be if Biden manages to broker a ceasefire in Gaza and a hostage release.